And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing a couple leaks from BSG regarding streets, followed by some flashlight bugs and some Tarkov questing in regards to Longline. I know GigaBeef loves that map. And then
hmm
finally, we're going to be closing out with a little discussion around Marauders, Cycle, Frontier, the Tarkov clones, if you will. So, Giga, how's it been going for you, man?
Been going good. It's been going good. Still trundling along, making my way. Where we'll, as you said, we'll talk about some interchangey stuff later because I feel almost like we had a big session about interchange last wipe. If you remember when I first was tackling this quest,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of my foray back into happening or playing on interchange properly, kind of later on in the wipe, and it was right near the end of the wipe. I got it literally in the closing days before we had the pre-wipe events and all that kind of stuff, and it was sweaty as hell. And I'd only just got to 45, and it was really tough. I really struggled with it. So that's what I've been up to. I've been building on that previous experience now to try and do that again and a second time, which is kind of interesting. Other than that, I don't know really. I mean, I've been trying to focus on content. I mean, I'm not sure whether I actually said like on the cast, but I've said previously on my stream and to like various people who've asked about like what's coming up. But me and the wife are expecting it at the end of this month, so it's pretty soon, like in a couple of weeks. So I'm kind of trying to backload my content at the minute, like desperately like push stuff out,
Yeah.
so I'm like don't have to be doing anything for a couple of weeks or so. So I'm gonna be taking like a few weeks off stream and that kind of thing. I think we'll probably still be able to do this, but yeah, I'm just gonna be spending every waking and unwaking moment, with the fam and like taking care of the little ones in the early days. So that's what I'm doing. I'm desperately trying to prepare for the unpreparable. That's my life at the minute.
Good for you guys. That's
How's it
awesome.
how's it been going for you?
Pretty good. I played a little bit of Tarkov, and I've been checking out the cycle and a little bit of Marauders, not so much. My boy Salty Mayo convinced me to get stuck back into the cycle,
hmm
as they say, and yeah. So it's been cool. Been cool.
Okay.
I did play Interchange last night, and I do feel like there's a lot more people on Interchange. I know, like a couple episodes ago, I felt like there was just not any players on the interchange. I don't know. It's just like constantly empty raids,
Mm.
which was nice for making money. But now I feel like there's more players, and I think like they're kind of like in that 30 to 40 range, and they're kind of higher up. Um, so I guess maybe it just takes some time for people to catch up or something. I don't know. It's just weird. I just like we just could not find any PvP. I mean, it was kind of nice because like each one of us had to do like the killer quest. I mean, I already had my done. Like my buddy had to do it, and then like just the other night, my other buddy had to do it, so we were doing that. So like, yeah, it's kind of nice. But
Mm.
so yeah, let's talk about the streets pictures that were released.
Yes. Exactly. So BSG broke their radio silence for I don't know when it was that they last posted something of merit as opposed to
Hmm.
just like retweeting stuff and that kind of thing. We've actually got some new pictures. Actually, this was followed up by this comes after the post from
Right.
Nikita that he posted on his personal Twitter, which was the I guess what is it like the escape from Tarkov like splash screen, like the Sturman with the thing, but it's drawn in like MS Paint in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really sure what the relevance of this picture is particularly. Maybe it's just kind of a flag of like I
Oh.
am alive. By the way, like we are
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
here.
I
Um,
don't know, dude. It's just so funny because some people were like trying to decode it, like, "Oh my god, what's this mean? This looks like a cross. Does that indicate this, and what's the relevance of this to the ongoing crimes and war crimes going on?" Just like what the are you guys on about? I'm pretty positive it's literally just a troll from Nikita. Like it's just an MS Paint of the
I
Swiss
I
screen.
think so too. I think
Yeah.
so too. But yeah, I know you're always going to get that. People counting, every brush stroke in Morse code and trying to decode that. This is a number and this must mean trying to type that in as some secret code in the hideout or whatever. Um, yeah, which is pretty funny. But yeah, then that was followed up on the 8th by these extra couple of pictures, which is, more stuff from Streets, which is interesting. I mean, sometimes they post these things randomly, I suppose, but it doesn't give us that much more detail. I know Nice Guy put a video out about these pictures because I know in the past some of the areas that they've shown have then been changed later because Nice Guy and the Sons of Soon, although I guess that means kind of gone away a little bit. The Sons of Soon, his community, were piecing together all the pictures that we had, and they were. To be honest, they've done quite a good job, and they know where most of the things are going to be from what we've seen so far. But there were some elements of it that got moved, or changed, or something. And so I think these pictures basically confirmed that nothing has really changed. There's like the theatre, which is near to the central district, and then I think that's next to the kind of cafeteria area, I believe. But anyway, like Nice Guy's got a good map where there's basically there's two kind of streets that cross over with each other, and then another street that comes off at an angle. At least it's kind of hard to visualize for me. I'm not my brain doesn't really work like that. Anyone who watching my stream will know that my sense of direction is absolutely abysmal, like it's terrible. It's the worst sense of direction of all time. And so looking at maps like this and then looking at the pictures, I kind of have a loose idea of where the things are supposed to go, but I wouldn't want to stake a bet on me actually getting my way around if I was actually there.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
game, you
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah, right there with you.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be an interesting one. It's funny because the area is pretty big. I saw some people were asking in Nice Guy's comments specifically about how big that area is going to be that he's kind of specced out, and he roughly said that it was something along the lines of 4 interchanges in size. That one piece,
Yeah,
which is pretty big,
yeah, it's
pretty
massive.
big. But I guess the main feature of it is that you've got some cafes and there are quite a few buildings that you can go in. There's a lot of open space too, so I feel like sometimes it's deceptive as to how big it actually is because there's so many open areas that in reality you wouldn't actually ever go in. I feel like it's almost quite funnel-like in some sense. Does that make sense? Like there's so many areas that you wouldn't actually, when you're playing, you wouldn't actually want to be there because
Like in the park.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
You just can't go in the park because you will die. And yeah, maybe there'll be scouts wandering around it or something, but like players are never going to be there. So it kind of makes the effective size of the map a little bit smaller, in my opinion,
I get
in
what you're
some ways.
saying.
Yeah, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's just like, and maybe that's good because it'll concentrate players more in those areas that are a bit safer. So you're more likely to bump into people actually than if the whole thing was just higgledy-piggledy streets, as opposed to like one
right.
big main street. So that could help. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite difficult to traverse the map.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, especially if there's quite a few people, because in a similar vein to something like Reserve and Interchange
Hmm.
in parts, because it's urban, there's not that much foliage. There's trees and stuff, but there's not that much foliage. It's going to be really obvious when you're moving from one building to another or crossing the street or whatever. So you
So,
have to be really careful.
how many players? So the whole map itself is 4 interchanges, or just
I,
that one section?
just this one section. Just this one
Okay,
section. So
and
Nikita
that's what
said
they're
that
gonna be.
well, yeah, presumably this is what they're going to be releasing as like Streets Part 1.
Right.
Presumably. Hard to know for sure, but I am
Okay.
guessing that these are all visuals from the latest build of the first iteration of Streets. You would guess. You
Hmm.
would guess. But Nikita said that the full map is going to be bigger than all the maps put together. So
I mean,
4 interchanges wouldn't be. Um,
yeah.
And I guess this is the core. I guess this is going to be like the core of Streets. Then they'll build off, as I said, like the mini expansions all the time, which
Right.
is what the way they wanted to do it. So we'll see. We'll see. It's hard to know exactly how it's going to end up getting done.
I
But
ask because, like, potentially you could run into a situation where trying to think how many players can be on interchange, but anywho, like, I mean, as you may remember the cycle, the maps are like very big. I mean,
mm,
they're kind of like PUBG size maps in a way. And it's not uncommon to never see a player despite
Yeah.
that there's constant coming and going of players. So I wonder if it might be a similar experience on streets where the map is just so big, that oh, it's in the 14 players, it says on Interchange. So yeah, the map is just so big that you may potentially not see a player. Like you're not guaranteed to see a player, which is
Yeah.
kind of a rare thing on Tarkov, unless your raid is literally dead. Like you don't hear a single like scav gunshot anywhere
Yeah.
on the map. Just like, yeah, this might be a dead raid, which could be
Yeah.
interesting.
Hard to know how that's
Hmm.
going to go. But yeah, it's difficult to imagine them having 20 PMCs in the first iteration. I mean, maybe, but I can't see them having 40.
I mean, 20 first iteration with 4 interchange maps. I feel like it's going to be pretty rare. You'll see a PMC unless they do reserve spawn mentality, where
Yeah,
you're
you'll see a
like,
PMC because you're all staring at each other right from
yeah.
like, uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And that's the thing. It could just be really empty and partly for performance reasons. If they are going to struggle with
Sure.
having so many people on the map at once, then maybe it will be tricky. Or maybe because of the way that the terrain is done, maybe you will see people all the time because the people are going to congregate in the various buildings and you'll be able to know that they're somewhere from ground floor -2 to 6th floor. And you have to go hunting for each other with the audio. There's somebody in this building somewhere. I don't know where, but they're in there somewhere.
Yeah. God.
We shall see. Yeah, we shall see. I don't really
That's
know.
that's just one reason why, or another reason I should say why I hate reserve. I mean, I don't really hate it, but I just heavily dislike it. Is freaking audio in the buildings. It's just like you can hear like 3 floors up. It's so annoying, dude. I hate finding in the building.
Isn't there one place? Is it one of the med buildings? Is it Queen or something where you can hear people in the basement if you're in the main building? I think.
I I don't know, dude. I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
There's like some really strange occlusion layers in reserve. I
Yes.
believe.
I don't like it.
It's pretty random. I was playing a decent amount of reserve recently. I was trying to tentatively start having a think about Shooterborn and just sort of having a scope around. We had to go. I got that late-ish quest, which was the one from Jaeger, where you have to kill 10 scavs in the pawn buildings,
Hmm.
and it's just kind of annoying. It's not difficult; it's just kind of annoying. You just have to go a bunch of times. So I was like, well, there's no scavs there at the beginning, really, and so you just have to wait until later. So we may as well just spend the first bit of the raid wandering around looking for Shooterborn in Heaven points and just having to think about it, which is mainly what I did. I didn't actually get to even take any shots of people, even when I was up at Dome. Because everyone just scurries underground. Everybody knows that people snipe from Dome and it's kind of risky to be outside and blah 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 blah. So it was actually I ended up getting that quest done really easily. Someone was like, just throw a grenade and like just shoot a loud gun and stuff, and like actually really worked. All the player scouts came flooding in. We had some like insane fights and stuff in the pawn buildings. I was not expecting that quest to go that way, but I've been playing reserve because of that and trying to shoot a ball and stuff, and it's just like you just never really see anybody. That's the problem that I find. So everyone's underground, and you never
Yeah.
see
The
anyone.
later, I mean, it's interesting, but like the start, like the earlier in the wipe you do that shooter born on reserve, you'll find like other people doing it. So it's like your other targets to hit. It's
Mm,
kind of funny, but the later you wait, it's gets a lot more dried up for sure.
yeah, exactly. I was like almost tempted just to sit around at the bottom somewhere and counter snipe the dome, rather than being
Mm,
in the dome, because I feel like I'm more likely to get shot in the dome than I am
mm,
to get the kills. And I'd be better off just going somewhere else and just waiting, seeing if somebody sits up there. I'm not sure
yeah.
yet what to do because like some other people that I was talking uh, to Chipperwobber as well because he popped into my chat for a bit and he was like, "Oh
Oh,
yeah, I just
cool.
like sprinted to dome every time and just like lay on the rocks and stuff." And I was like, "That's fine, but like 4 out of 5 raids, I'm like nowhere near dome and I have to like pace it from one side of the map to the other. And by the time I get up there, everyone's underground fighting raiders. It's
Well,
it's tough.
my buddy did because he's doing all the. I think he got them all done. Maybe he's got customs left. But anyways, I mean, it was a pain and it was a grind, but you just try to kill you off the spawn.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
at 125 meters though, like it's hard.
yeah, it's hard. That's the hard part. Like the one where you spawn by the scavlands and you look over to your left next to like school. I can't remember what it's called. It's not the ponds. It's like you know what I'm talking about?
Which
Where
one's
like the bunker,
Scavlands? Is Scavlands
the co-op
the?
extract.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you kind of like spawn in that area. Like if you go to the tank up on the
Mhm.
hill that's like embedded in the hill, it's
Yeah.
not quite 125, but like depending on certain variables, you might be able to get 125. So it's just like yeah. I couldn't. Yeah, I just can't do shooter born this way, dude. I've watched my buddy and I'll be like, that's not 125. It's just like you're so far away. How is that not 125?
Yeah,
I
it
just
really
can't.
sucks. It really sucks. I got a decent kill on Interchange, and people were just like, "Oh, it's a shame there's not Interchange shootable in heaven anymore because that would have been amazing."
Yeah.
And I got to the end screen, it was like 124.3. I was just like, "Thank God shootable isn't on here." I was like, "No way, dude! Like, it's so far. 125 is so far in EFT.
Yeah.
Really is. Really is. Especially on PMCs, a long way. Lighthouse, fine, but
Right.
maps like Reserve and Customs, it's like,
Right.
At least on Reserve, you get chances though. On Customs, it's doable, but you have to really force it. Anyway, I'm early stages for that. I haven't really tried in all earnest yet, so I've just been probing the outskirts of it. Once we got
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
once we got the scav quest done, I just moved on to something else. So I was like, oh, well, we had some thoughts about it, and then moved on. So yeah, we will see.
Don't
We'll see
worry.
what
You
happens.
still got another 3 months, so no rush.
Yeah, exactly. Although I was thinking before, I was just like, oh, I'm basically like not going to be playing for a month, so that's going to kind of cut my like potential kappa
Hmm.
time off. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to get it after all. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, you just wait for the 250-meter streets shooter born in heaven.
Yeah.
That'll be the good one. That'll be the good one. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it looks cool. It looks cool. These new
Yep.
screenshots. I am hoping. I don't know how bad it will be. I think this is the question on everyone's minds: like, how bad will the performance be? Is it going to be truly awful?
I was
Maybe.
thinking uh, it's possible that it actually might not be that bad. And the reason I say that is because as far as like culling goes, or like, you know, occluding objects when you can't see them, when you're not
Mm,
supposed to see them, basically, like you're inside a building and this building, across the other map, there's no point for it to be rendered because you just can't possibly see it from whatever angle. Since there is a lot of buildings, like a map like Lighthouse, there's like two big mountains you can climb, there's like tree lines. It's like not
yeah.
really easy to occlude a lot of stuff there. Whereas potentially you might be able to occlude a lot of stuff. Like if you remember when Reserve first came out, it was like really poor performance, and then they went through and like did some occlusion updates, I think. And like one side effect that there's like some spots where you could like get into, and if you could lean at just like the right angle, then like the building would like disappear and you could see everyone in the building. But anyways, it might not be it might be equal to Lighthouse, it might not be that bad. We'll have to see. I mean, of course, yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I really don't know. We'll see.
It's going to be tough. Yeah, it's just those things. Like, I think it kind of depends on how many AIs that they want on the map in the first iteration. Because if it's quite AI light, it might be okay. Because when I play Lighthouse in offline mode without any of the rogues, it plays fine.
Yeah,
It genuinely plays fine on my computer.
yeah.
There's something about the way that the AI is processed in general and how
Hmm.
that interacts with like my PC. Like it's something to do, and I'm CPU locked anyway. I've talked about this before, but something to do with that and the calculations that are required to model those AI. Like even if it's running on the server or whatever, there's something about that causes issues.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but if they produce Streets Part One with little I don't know. Are they expected to have like 3 bosses on Streets or something, or are there not any bosses? I can't remember now.
For part one or in general?
Yeah, for part one, are there like not any? Because I know there's
I'm
supposed to
not
be 4
sure.
in total, something like
There
that.
might be one based off the size of the map.
Yeah, but if they're not there all the time, and if it's not, well, maybe they are there all the time because it's like that. I don't know if it's the car dealership or another one. The problem with the rogues is they're always there, whereas bosses are not always there. So it means most of the time you can, if you've got like a 15% spawn rate or something, then you don't always get punished by the
Huh, look
issues.
at this. I got 45 FPS. I think the bosses are here. I usually get 50 FPS.
I mean, I think that used to work on reserve, and you used to be able to
Yeah.
before they did the updates you were talking about. You used to be able to tell where they were because you just like spun around, and when they went off screen, the FPS used to go up. So you would just like go around like a little like radar.
Yeah.
Oh, FPS drop. Oh. Okay, there we go. Yeah, they're in here. They're in K buildings. It's like so stupid, but I don't think that works anymore. Maybe it does. Actually, I haven't tried. Maybe I
I
should
don't
try
know.
that again. TMC FPS drop radar. I don't know. Have you ever used Goon Tracker? There's like a couple of these Goon
No.
Tracker websites. I know this is very, very random. Some people swear by it. Some people say it doesn't work.
I
I'm not
mean,
really
it's
sure.
all community driven. There's no
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I
So
just
it's
I
just
just
like,
wondered if you used it.
yeah, I don't know.
Fair enough. Because I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I will need to go and beat them up at some point if I do finish some of these really lengthy quests. I think like the big lengthy ones is Longline, Insomnia, and Suitable, and those are the ones that are going to take forever. Shootable in particular. Insomnia, I'm not actually that scared about because you can just kind of do it wherever you want. So it's not that bad. It just has to be night. It's fine. Except factory, not factory anymore. So you don't have like the sweaty quad mod factory fights like you
Mhm.
used to. Not the same. But yeah, that's the other one that kind of strikes fear into my heart. I still have to kill. Not Knight. I've killed him. I need to kill Bird Eye, who's the one that does terrify me,
Yeah.
and Big Pipe, who is probably no harder than Knight. Really, I wouldn't have thought. You just have to get lucky and kill him. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. I'll have to look into that when I do actually start actively trying to go after
Mhm.
them at some point, if I end up getting that far. So we'll see. We will see. All right, so I think that's it for news, right? There's nothing else that you've
Yeah.
seen. The
Nope.
entire Tarkov category was completely empty. The one of the days when I streamed, I think I was like in the third row on the front page or something because like everyone was
Nice.
in San Diego,
Yeah.
so like nobody was online, which is pretty funny. And I was streaming at like a weird time. I think it was like middle of the day EU. I think it was one of those slots. It was just like, oh, there's
Mhm.
no one online, and my regular viewerships like put me like really high up because like no one else is here, which is quite funny. So yeah, other than all the Tarkov guys getting together, you know what's really, really like funny about it? Because I like had no intention of like flying to US or anything like this, especially with like everything going on at home and whatever. But like seeing the pictures and stuff, I was like actually felt like serious FOMO that I haven't felt in like ages. Like seeing everybody get together and stuff, I was like, oh dude, it'd be so sick to meet the whole community like that. I'm like, man, I did actually feel like I was missing out, even though there wasn't any conceivable way of actually going.
Mhm.
I was just like, man, it looks like such a good time. Looks like such a good time. Just looking at the
Yeah.
pics, just like, oh. But I think next year it might be in Paris or something. So who knows? Maybe that'll be the time Giga strikes out into the heart of society.
Yeah. You need to do it. Put on your it's got to be on the bucket list for
Exactly.
Tarkov in general.
Yeah, if it's in France, then that's fine.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to go there from here, so that's okay. Um, Hopefully things should be a bit more stable by then. But yeah, it looked sick. It looked sick. But I think that's the only other thing that happened in Tarkov. The notable thing that no streamers were playing because everybody was basically drinking together in the
Mhm.
States, which is pretty funny. So the next thing on the agenda, which I want to talk about, unless you've got anything else pressing,
No.
was a interesting flashlight. It's not. Well. Is it a flashlight bug? I mean, it is a bug, but it's also
Yes.
a hilarious feature. Did you see? Did you see the video that I'm referring to, which is Abney Dude's video about making the what did he even call it? We've had Abney Dude. We've had him on here, haven't we?
Mhm.
We've had him on the podcast. And it's called his video. I'm actually just gonna copy it into chat, but his video is called. I created a death ray using this glitch in Tarkov, and it is pretty funny. Honestly, I laughed. I thought it was
Yeah.
entertaining. And effectively, what is happening here, which I'm surprised. I'm always amazed when people find out this random stuff.
I know, right?
you you get a bunch of the big flashlights, you stick them around your gun, and then when you turn them on, which one was it actually? I probably should have written that one down and go and find out which one it was. But
What,
you,
flashlight or
you
scope or
yeah, which flashlight? Because it worked on any of the scopes, as far as I understood
so
it. But there was a
how
particular flashlight that he used.
I think he used the Zenit one, the really big ones,
Oh,
if I'm
the
not
two
mistaken.
U or whatever.
Oh, or did he use the WX-2000, the new
Oh yeah, it was
round
that.
ones?
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was WX2000. So anyway, so he put like 4 of those on his gun, and then this seems to work with any scope. But I think he was using a Voodoo. Normally, what happens is when you've got so many flashlights, anybody who's tried memeing with it, the enemy is completely blinded and can't see anything. You're just like the sun to them. But the problem is on your screen, you're also just like the sun. Like it's just
Mhm.
it's crazy. You can't really see anything. Stuff's like reflecting like crazy off everything, and you can't see them either. Maybe it's for balance or something. But what he did, which I've never seen, he basically said if you have any thermal of any kind, that's it doesn't even have to be on the gun. You just ADS with any thermal scope, and then when you look back through the regular scope with the flashlights, you don't get any of the glare, which is
But it
insane.
but it has to be a scope.
It has to be an actual scope, yeah. It can't
Yeah,
be like like a
EOTech.
Valde or something. Or could it be a Valde? Could it be a Valde?
I think
It
it
can't be
can.
a
I
it
think it
can't be a
has I
hollow
think it has I
or
think it has
like
to be a
a 1
picture in
X.
picture scope.
Okay,
Yeah, it
okay.
can't be
So
a hollow.
maybe it can be a Valve then. So it has to be any picture-in-picture scope. And so yeah, so you ADS with any thermal, and then you go back to your regular scope, and all the glare's gone, and you can see perfectly. And they're just caught in this just kind of like brighter than the sun, just like beam, and just cannot target you at all. You're like just an orb like this big on their screen. It's actually insane, and it's so funny. He's got a whole bunch of clips where he could have just outright killed people so easily, and he's just like lasering them in the face and then voiping them and stuff, and they like can't even shoot back properly because they don't even know where he is really within the huge orb. It's pretty entertaining. What I quite enjoyed was the little trick of like, oh yeah, well, bringing a thermal in is really expensive. So how do you do this? But well, you use the Torrey Pines like little mini thermal, stick it on the top, ADS once with that, and then just throw it in the bush and just get it back on insurance. So I thought that was really smart. I thought that was super cool. So it was like a way of fixing it. I mean, it's a full meme. It's a bug, but it's full meme as well. So I wouldn't. It's not like you're doing anything too bad, honestly. I don't think. Like you give yourself away like crazy. You're basically wearing like a lighthouse beacon on the front of your
Yeah.
arms. Oh god, it's funny. It made me laugh anyway. It really made me chuckle.
I happened to see like I watched that video and then like a few days later I happened to see a landmark video and he was like playing reserve and some guy had a shotgun of really bright lights and he killed him and he loots it and he was like he's like confused what this guy's doing and then because he had the 155 with the thermal that's built into it
Mm.
and then a voodoo on top, it also worked there apparently. And Landmark was really confused, like, how is this possible? And then he tried to like replicate it and it didn't work. I guess he like messed up one of the
Right.
steps in the process, but or maybe
Interesting.
he put a instead of the voodoo, he put a hollow on. I think that's what he did and it wasn't working. Um but yeah, anywho,
Because I guess
I don't
that's
know.
what
I
you
guess
would
it's like
want, right?
any what's that?
You'd want it to work with a hollow, really, because it's that kind
Ye-
of
yeah,
optic,
it's
isn't it? Like,
right, yeah,
yeah,
up close. Yeah, because flashlights, yeah. But there's another bug with flashlights. Shocker, I know.
yeah.
It's not the one where you can see them through walls. I think yeah, CCTL has a video on it, but it has to do with the MPX and basically because the one of the rails can like fit 8 plus flashlights or something. There's a bug with um that many flashlights being on at once or something and you can like he doesn't go over how to like replicate it, but I think it's like without going into too much detail, I think you can essentially have all 8 on for everyone else and only 1 flashlight on for you.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, like, it's kinda busted, but it's only for, like, the MPX and maybe, like, one other gun that can fit that many flashlights, but
I mean, for the MPX, I mean, I would argue then that's a balancing feature. Then it's it's probably just about fair at that point.
I knew that was coming, dude. I could sense it. If you weren't gonna say it, I was gonna say it.
Oh, the
Oh
poor
god.
MPX. Oh my
Mhm.
god, that gun really is just I just haven't seen any of them. I've
I
seen no
wouldn't
9mm.
I wouldn't mind trying it now that they've, like, reduced the recoil on the SMGs. I mean, I don't recall exactly all the stuff they reduced. I mean, all I saw is they reduced the ump, and then I was like, "Okay, well, then, the ump's just even better now." So it's like,
Yeah,
what's the point? But, yeah, it'd be interesting to try. I used the STM9 on custom as, like, just a main gun, and I had, like, a little bit or no, I think I ran out of, like, AP 6.3. I didn't wanna buy any. It's, like,
yeah.
AP that, like, I found or got off players probably. And, so I was like, "I'll use some rip ammo." It was actually pretty freaking good, dude. I was kinda blown away, like, I
Really?
absolutely destroyed people with it. Yeah. I was like, "Dude." I mean, I'm more so on the rip ammo side, but,
Hmm.
the part that was really freaking good, but, yeah, I just have such a soft spot for the STM, dude. It's so, it's like no recoil, pure headshots, It's like
It's like playing Quake
single
or
fire.
something.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, it's just something about just like I mean, I'm no Will or Z by any means. Like the watching him play is just like he's like, you know, bunny hopping, jumping, and then like from side to side, and he gets like the hip fire air shot across like 100 meters on the guy in the head, and he's just like, "Oh, I hit that." I'm just like, "What? You hit that?" It's like, how does guy's insane, but yeah.
It is nuts. It is. There was a clip actually recently, and I think it was on Twitter. I think it was a Smitty clip, and
Hmm.
he's underground on reserve, and he was just like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. It's actually epic. I might post it in the Capital Discord. I'll write it
Hmm.
down so I remember to. Um, but yeah, it's basically like he's underground on reserve, and he's got some like random he's got some random gun. I can't remember what it is. It's not like a P90, but it's like some kind of SMG, I
Hmm.
think. But there's like there's like two PMCs in front. And there's like a raider like running past, like as he's killing these guys. There's like raider running here. He's like turns around. There's like another PMC leaning. He like runs forward. He's like chasing after this other guy who's like running up one of the rounds. Tries to fire because he's shot so much. He gets misfire because it's like his gun's like basically aflame at this
Yeah.
point, and he's like, no, no, and the whole thing's just total chaos. It's like actual like the one of the most chaotic Tarkov clips I've ever seen. Those kind of moments are just so good. They're so good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it's worth having a little gander back on some of these things, especially with like PvP. Because PvP is not actually that bad. I'm not sure if I could rip round, but PvP is not terrible. 50 and
Just
39, like solid. It's like it's nearly as good as BT.
yeah. I mean, it is pretty good, but the craft is like at that point, I just rather
Mm.
use like it's just you can't really justify it in that sense.
No, I agree. You can't justify it,
But
but it is fun.
yeah, exact. There you go. That's the thing. It's something. What do they say? Variety is the spice of life. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, talking about like crappy guns, Wildez, I think is how you pronounce
oh,
his name. Did you see he did like a video on my stuff? So
I didn't watch it all, but I did see part of it. Yeah.
he's done like a couple of long form things. His YouTube channel is still kind of small. It's like 1K or something, but he makes like
Hmm.
really funny TikToks and Twitter stuff.
Yeah,
And I just think the dude's hilarious. I just think he's so
I do too.
funny.
Yeah.
Um, I just love the skits he comes up with. Oh, they make me laugh so much, man. But anyway, he was just like, "Oh, can I use your tier list to do a video?" I was just like, "Yeah, absolutely, go for it." So he's basically taken my tier list that I did ages ago, the
Hmm.
one tier list that I ever did, which caused an enormous amount of controversy within the comment section. Everyone was like, why have you put this here?" And oh my god, it was crazy. But he basically took the F tier list and the final three guns or the final sort of 4 or 5 guns within there. They just didn't do all pistols, and then tried to get a kill with each one. And it was fun actually. It was fun. It's kind of like what you're saying about the STM. It's just like with a lot of those guns. Again, you just have to hit your shots. As long as you can get a headshot with them, it's fine. Like every other gun outclasses them in so many ways, but you can still kill
Right.
people with any weapon in EFT.
Hmm.
Um, it made me think that maybe I was a bit harsh on the STM. Like Tiger 9, like probably fair enough, but the STM, it has basically no recoil, right? So if you can
It's
hit,
like D tier,
yeah,
please.
maybe F was a bit harsh. Maybe it was a bit harsh. I think in my mind, because I still also have the kind of zeroing issues in my mind too, because those things are all zeroed for like PST. And back when we had like 3x gravity, the way it used to be before they changed all the ballistics, when you were firing PvP, it was just like off into the horizon. It was like it was way higher than the sights,
Hmm.
especially on like the MP5 SD and those kind of ones. So like, but the STM trying to do anything, it was the only one that you really wanted to do anything over any range with, and it was just
Right.
appalling. Right, you'd be hitting like a meter above because the
Yeah.
differences in the ballistic properties were just like so big. Whereas now, and this was even when I went back and did my zeroing video, I was like going to test it and just be like, look how awful this is. And when I tested it, I was like, it's actually not that bad now. Like it's way better than it used to be. It's like significantly better. So
Okay.
maybe I was a little harsh. Maybe I was a little harsh. I did have somebody request a gun last wipe. I still haven't put those back on my channel because I'm like still kind of going for Kappa. I like want to like keep going with the stuff that I want to do.
Hmm.
But when we were like messing around at the end of last wipe, I did have a request for the STM and ended up killing 2 people with it. So I was like, yeah, well, I don't know. Like maybe it's okay. I don't know. That was again with PPP, but yeah, I've never been able to make 9mm work. I've never been able to get it to work.
I mean, back in the vector days, that's all anyone was using. You remember that? Dude, that was I kind of liked it, but at the same time, it was like, you know,
I mean, 9mm vector with a drum and rip is that still functions now.
yeah. Well, I meant like more so the AP. Like, I mean, dude, it was crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
literally, everyone got to like level. I don't even remember. Like, because what skier is it? Level
What Skier 3 was it?
13? No, it's skier 2.
Oh, before they changed it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like,
yeah.
right when it first came out,
Mm.
dude, literally customs lobbies was, like, everyone with a Vector, like, the 30 round maybe it wasn't even the 30 round mags, maybe they were still using, like but everyone's using, like, PST's GZH in their
Yes.
Vectors, and it was so great because it was like your armor actually did something, and everyone was trying to get each other headshots, and if you had,
Mm.
like, a face shield, you were just like, "Dude, I'm, like, Giga Chad right now," but it's, like, literally, like, day 2 or 3 of the wipe, it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I kinda liked it, but
Yeah, it was kind of fun, and then yeah, when it started moving up into the other stuff, then it just like broke everything. And when you could buy PvP, people just had like 3,000 of it, and it was super broken because it was so good in the Vector specifically because the Vector had like no recoil at all, and no matter what you were wearing, you just got completely drilled by this
you could
stuff. And your
shred people,
Yeah, your
yeah.
armor was just like just gone, and you were dead because it had
Yeah.
double the fire rate of an AK pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, and any headshots you were going to die to. So yeah, it was nutty. It was nutty, but yeah, that was kind of where the systematic dismantling of 9mm happened within EFT. That was the time. Like that was sort of my vibe, right? The MP5 SD with PvP ammo was perfect. I loved it. Like before 1212 recoil,
Mhm.
the MP5 SD was like super low recoil. It was like 36 or something from the trader,
Really
which
low,
is
yeah.
insane. PvP had come out, but the Vector hadn't, so it was really good. But not everybody was using it. It wasn't like super meta, but you had this like suppressed gun that you could buy, and there was the Peacekeeper one. The thing that always made it so good, and I think this is still the same to this day, but just no one uses it now. Like the Peacekeeper version is a lot cheaper than if you just build it with the parts. So you buy the pre-built one from him. It can't even take
Yeah.
a handguard. I think it ends up costing. I don't actually. I might even go and check out how much it is because I haven't looked at that gun for so long. But it was something along the lines of 65k, something like that. All in, you don't need to do anything to it. Just add a sight on it, and
Yeah.
it's already suppressed. You can fit some decent rounds in. It's 800 RPM, so it's fine. And yeah, like super quiet. Feels super operator as well. Like it feels great, which is one of the things that normally comes lower down the list for me. But it feels sick. Use the MP5
Mhm.
SD's got a certain vibe to it. It's just real nice. So I do miss that a bit. I do miss that. One of my favorite guns in Tarkov that I never use. So flashlights, eh? And their various problems. I
Yep.
guess that these things will probably get fixed. I would have thought. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, they'll go into the long list of various things. They're kind of like niche issues, though, aren't they? So
Yeah.
have a quick look at old Peacekeeper. I think it's Peacekeeper 2, and you have to do scrap metal. I remember doing that in a video that
Yeah.
I made about the MP5 SD. So it's $571, dude. It's so cheap, so cheap. If you're like selling info items to get dollars, then that's gonna cost approximately. It's about 50K.
Mm-hmm.
So insanely cheap.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it
But
could be
yeah,
like something to think about early wipe if you get there like really quick for some reason. I don't know.
maybe. It's just
Because
yeah
I just couldn't justify the $8 around for that's like the reason why I named Dead is just like the not starter tier ammo is as expensive as M855A1, as expensive as
like 300 blackout
uh
AP.
yes, thank you, as expensive as more expensive as BT,
Mm.
from 545, more expensive than an M80. Like it's just like I just can't justify it. So
And AP 6.3 is not very good.
yeah,
Like really not very good.
yeah.
It's one of my
PP
like
has more pen, I think. It's like, and that costs like 100 rounds or 100 rubles a round. It's so
yeah.
cheap.
AP 6.3 is 30 pen. That's what lets it down, unfortunately. It always has done. It always has done. Like
Yeah.
it's it's yeah, what else has got like close to 30 pen? I mean it's just it sucks. It basically you can only deal with class 3 really. Class 4 eats it so
Yeah.
much. And that's the problem. That was always the issue with it, is that it wasn't consistent against face shields. Like nobody. Do you see anybody wearing face shields now? I hardly ever see anyone wearing a face shield.
Not really, no. It's pretty I mean, now that they moved it behind the task, it's pretty far and few between, I think.
Yeah, funny. Like I still never see anyone using them, and I don't really use them, even though I'm able to buy them at this point. I wonder if the case for face shields. I suppose like one part of it is that the glasses exist now, so why spend however much on a face shield that costs a lot of money? Is
Hmm.
class 3, all the rounds are gonna one tap you anyway if they don't
That's the
ricochet.
thing, right? When BP is like so abundant, it's like it doesn't matter if I'm wearing a face shield or not. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, what's the like the
yeah,
glasses do the ricochet chance, so that's like all you really need. Like, if BP was more scarce, and like that was like I said, that was kind of the nice thing back in the days when the Vector first came out, is like getting that using that freaking like before people progress to PvP unlock that Prepper 3 or 4, I think. People were running around with the ZSH helmet, like the one from like that the Rashala guards sometimes have. Like it's
yeah,
just a class 4 helmet and like a class 3 face shield, like no ears. But it's like it's actually like kind of makes sense when like more people are using this round that doesn't have like amazing pin.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. I think I've been slightly corrected in chat by the. Well, I made my point even more stark actually about like the zeroing of some of those like 9mm guns, where I think the American weapons, or at least the West, the non-Russian weapons, were zeroed for PSO, which is partly why it was so crazy with the SD, because it was even slower. Whereas the Russian ones were the ones that were zeroed for PST. That's why the zeroing ended up being like so stark.
I see.
Just a little point there. Our resident expert tower communicating with our chat.
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I think that's the flashlight one. It was pretty funny. If you get a chance, go and check out Abney's video because it's pretty entertaining watching people try to deal with the fact that they're just like full blind. It's pretty good. But I'm not sure whether I'll be using that anytime soon, to be honest. I find flashlights
It
are
could
such
be
a
a fun
double-edged
meme
sword.
gun.
It could be fun. It could be fun, but it's so double-edged. Like in terms of performance specifically, it's one of those things where you basically have it off until you know someone's there, and as you swing, you turn it on. Is seems to be the way that I'm using it these days. Because like the rest of the time, I just
Yeah.
give myself away, and it just sucks. It just sucks. I think that's the issue for me is that because I still crutch on the laser a little bit. When the flashlight's
Hmm.
on, I can't see the laser as well, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and it kind of causes me some extra problems. How do you feel? Like how do you feel your point fire is? Like decent?
It's decent.
Yeah. I think mine could do with work. Honestly, I think it
I
could
mean,
do with a bit of work.
if you like offline scav horde, just like
Yeah, that's true.
point.
It's probably
I
just
mean,
practice muscle memory with that, really.
yeah, I mean, it really is because it's like it's mostly the center of your screen. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
always the center because you got the gun that floats a bit, but it is a bit of skill and luck mixed in for
I think
sure.
it's
But
especially the strafing. When you strafe and the weapon turns,
it's true as well.
that's
Yeah,
like, oh, that's the bit that really kills me sometimes. If I don't have the laser on, because if I don't know, I guess it's better if you're right up close to somebody and they're up next to a wall or whatever, then it's not really a problem because when you shoot, you see the impacts and you kind of like walk it into them. You know what I mean? But
yeah, yeah,
if it's when you're both outside on like woods, for example, and you're firing and you don't know like where you're shooting exactly. You don't know if you're on target or off target or like where it's going. And those are the scenarios where I normally find the laser like more useful because yeah, as I said, inside like you can judge it by seeing where it went behind them, and it's not as big of an issue. So it sort of depends on the scenario. Like outside, I find point five really tough because of that lack of
yeah,
reference.
yeah. It I mean, the further out they are, the harder it gets to. It's. I mean, honestly, I would say like 50% around there. Half my fights are like flashlight versus flashlight, so it's always like Plus, you got the aim punch thing. It always kind of feels like a gamble, like, but
Mm,
whatever.
yeah.
A
Yep.
coin
Indeed.
toss.
It does feel like that sometimes. I prefer to have like less of my fights like that. I think that's why I play the way that I do, so that less of it
Hmm.
feels random. Um, that said, I do actually feel that I've been playing a lot better recently. Honestly, I do, and I think that's partly with Longline, which I guess we could talk about now. I've
Hmm.
been playing more Interchange again. Since our last conversation on Interchange, I have gone and found the other set of stairs. You remember the ones we were talking about previously? Because we were talking about secret stairs, and I
Yeah, yeah,
used
yeah.
one set relatively frequently, which is the one in. It's like it's kind of the idea side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the ones on Ollie's side, I like just like never really used. But I've since been up and down a couple of times. Um, it's funny that what you were saying, like just before we get into the actual kind of meat of it about when people are on and when they're not on, because I did one session in my evening on EU evening, and there was like people everywhere. The raids were like absolutely popping, and it was pretty good. And then I did the next session the following day because I normally I alternate between like evening and afternoon, and I did like 1 p.m. to like 4:30 my time, and we did find people, but it was much more of a struggle. I was having to stay in raid a lot longer, like search for people and chase gunshots and try to find the people using, where's the M4 guy? Like we were chasing the M4 guy for like 15 minutes and then finally found him and had a fight with him and killed him. So that changes it quite a bit because when you're the one looking for PvP, it's kind of weird because there's so many places people could be, and you're like, if I checked
Yeah.
everywhere, I will never go anywhere in this mall. You just gotta go sometimes. You just gotta go. And so I've definitely been a lot more aggressive in this attempt at Longline than the last one. But yeah, it radically changes depending on when you play. It really makes a big difference. I don't normally notice that on the other maps so much, but Interchange is very much like that. I think for whatever reason.
I think
But
it's
yeah,
for whatever reason, it's just not a very popular map with the community. I don't understand why. It's almost as if like there's some issue with it, like you can't see people, or I don't know. It's just I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Not just can't tell. We'll never know. It'll always be a
Yeah.
mystery. It'll always be a mystery. Uh, but no, I don't know. I'm quite pleased. with how it's going. I've done 2.5 sessions on Longline, I would say, and the first one I managed to get to 5 out of 30. The second one we got 4 kills, get up to 9, and then just now, just before this cast, because we're doing this for everybody who's listening elsewhere, we've done this on the Monday rather than on the Friday because I was a bit ill. And so I did an hour beforehand and played 2 interchange raids. Killed 2 people in both of those raids, which was good. Survived in one, didn't in the other. So, but that gave me another 4. So we're now at like 13 out of 30. I'm like, oh, we're nearly halfway there. This is surprising, and it's surprising how quickly it's going. And I just feel that building on the conversation that we had last time, and then coming back to interchange again, slightly earlier in the wipe with probably better guns, and also just me playing more helps a little bit too. I'm starting to build up my confidence on that map a lot more. I really am. I think it's part of the issues for me was just like getting in the mall in a way that made sense, and I had a plan of like where I wanted to go once I was there. Because half the time, like especially if you spawn over by, let's say, railway side, you've got such a huge amount of ground to cover, and other spawn points can potentially fight you. And I'm like, I don't want to fight anybody until I'm inside, right? Because it's a waste of time. But then it's like, well, where do you go? Do you go in the underground car park? Do you go up the escalators? Like, I feel like I'm slowly figuring things out. I pretty much never go into the center itself, like straight up the escalators. I almost always go into the car park first, and then move up through one of the ways. Sometimes we just end up with fights. I've been fighting around the killer ramp a lot, and that's got its own kind of like weird thing. It's like the legacy of Killer, even though he's not there anymore. I mean, it's an easy route into the mall, but it's got its own kind of like marked room used to be great, and so everyone goes to dorms. And now because everyone went to dorms, now everybody just goes to dorms regardless of whether dorms is good or not. It's got that kind of vibe to it as well. It's like it's where everyone used to go for Killer, and now Killer's all over the place. But it's still where everybody goes because that's where everybody's been going forever. Which
has
is quite
such
funny.
a legacy of a hot spot that it's just like the spot there is still like warm to the touch. It's there's still activity even though there's no killer there.
Exactly. Even though there's no killer there, like people don't really go to Kibber that often. Like it's pretty funny that so many people are around there. So I've had some interesting fights in that bit. I very rarely go up through the hole, actually. And some of the scariest moments have been like, I know that there's people down in the car park, and I'm up above the ramp, and I'm just like, I don't know how I can even approach
It's very
this.
hard.
Like,
Yeah.
going down the ramp, I'm on the crossroads above. The people could be above me. They could be anywhere along on my line as well, like in like Rasmussen or like even further down where you do the quest. And then when I get into the car park, they could literally be anywhere across all of these angles. So I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And the other place that I've kind of got a bit better, I think, is Goshan. There are still people going through Goshan here and there, and it's got enough because there's enough shelving, and it's kind of random enough, like higgledy piggledy enough. You can get out of the way. Is that very British?
I've never heard that before.
You've never heard that phrase before? You've never heard the phrase higgledy piggledy?
No.
Oh, right. Must be a proper Britishism.
Yeah, must be.
I do like it when those appear. It is good. What did I say? Oh, I can't remember. There's some American accused me one time.
The Goshen shells.
Yeah, I was thinking about an American accusing me one time of saying the most British thing ever, and I can't remember what it was now. If it pops into my head, I'll say. But yeah, because there's so many around in that area, you can see somebody and peek back and then run around or sprint, and you can escape if you want to. It gives you the same I'm in a forest feel in terms of cover, because there's not foliage or trees, but there are so many shelves that you can weave and weave and weave between. They don't know where you are, and you can loop around and come in from another angle and stuff. It's got that vibe to it. Whereas that's what normally kills me about Interchange is I see somebody and they're down this incredibly long corridor with no cover. Okay, well, I can wheel through the rest of the mall, but like that's not really the point. It's I'm probably just going to end up going so wide I run into somebody else. So that's that's actually been working pretty well as well. The only thing that I've kind of like not really been doing is going to try and loot at the same time. Like I don't know whether you think that's a good idea or not. Like actually going into the tech stores, I feel like I'm more of a more prey if I go in there. Like people are, I feel like the eyes are like waiting for people to go into these areas, and I've sort of avoided them for now. But maybe that's my paranoia, as opposed to anything else. I'm not sure.
As my buddy said when I asked him, like, you know, well, why loot? Because he's basically said that he'll just play Interchange till the wipe ends, and I'm just like, "You madman, what's wrong with you?" I just can't fathom that, but, 'cause he's got, like, a few more quests and he's got capo, but,
Okay.
so I'm like, "Yeah, why loot?" And he's like, it's something to do." Like, yeah, I guess so. Like, if you want something to do, you can just go in and press F on a few items,
Mm,
because I'm
yeah.
assuming you don't need the cash, but
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like don't really need the money. Especially recently, I'm not really sure what happened. I think it was just I had a few other things I needed to buy, like a week or two, well, maybe a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, probably a couple of weeks ago, which was like Red Rebel and a few other like random items that I needed to buy. It was quest keys. That was it. I kept scalping myself for quest keys, paying like nearly a mil for like random keys. And once I stopped buying all of those, the money's just kind of, and I had like a whole a streak of not really dying that much as well. I know, crazy, right? And the money just started like flooding in, even though I wasn't doing that much looting. So I've ended up just floating up to about 24 mil, and on that basis, just like, well, I still get some stuff when I go into Interchange, but it's just like random crap. Like I'm not going to Ultramed or anything. I'm not going to Tech Light like within the first 3 minutes and looking for stuff. I mean, if there was anywhere to go, like where do you think is actually decent to go now? Because like most of the places, by all reckoning from the community, are just not really that good. I was looking at Ultramed earlier with someone in chat, and it was I think the key was like 120k or whatever, which shows you how much people value it now. Slash,
wow.
everyone who wants one's got one. But yeah, I mean, it's peanuts, right?
Dude, it used to be so expensive and, like, almost every raid was, like, a Letix or a defibrillator, like, it was so and, like, literally every raid, all the action was up top at Tech Light, and yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Um, you wanna know where to go for, like, what? For, like, loot or for
yeah. For
PvP
loot,
or
like if I'm in there anyway, then like why not? Yeah, you could buy one for 110 Ultramed storage. Nuts.
I mean, the spots that we like to hit is there's, like, kinda how I think of it is like the idea and Ollie and like the front of Ultra Med,
Hmm.
those are just like entrances into the mall. You know what I mean? They're not really
Yeah.
like I mean, there is no loot in the front of Ultra, but like they're just like they're kind of like off limits for like playing, you know what I mean? At like the start of right. Like the idea is like to get into the like core part of the mall. Um But on the idea side, there's like trends where it's like really dark, right? And you like keep going past, and then you got Emercom,
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
quest worm. Like to the right of that, there's the what I call the dark store, which is just like it's across from Blue Stars, the room with the blue lights. You know
Oh
what I'm talking
yeah.
about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's so obscure. I didn't know about it for the longest time playing Interchange. But it's just a really dark room, and there's like tool loot in there. There's a toolbox in there. That's like a I like always check that. Like no one really checks it, but then you go back towards Emercom and like across from Emercom, there's what we call TTS. I think like on somewhere on the
Hmm.
wall, there's a thing that says like TTS, but it's got tech loot on the shelves. There's like a duffel bag, there's a toolbox, and sometimes there's like some loose loot on the back, but whatever. Then you go towards like the center of the mall and across from Mantis, Mantis is that one little medical store.
Yeah.
There's German, which is the really dark wooden floor room that's got like, tech stuff as well. Beside that, there's Voyage, which is like, um, in between. Kosten, and German, it's Voyage, which has got like 2 jackets, which is like kind of
I don't
meh.
think I
And like,
ever go in Voyage ever.
yeah, I mean it's just like a in between loot thing. You know, you hit the 2 jackets, you maybe hit the weapons crate, and then you go to
Mm.
German, and then you go to Mantis. If you want, you can go Brutal. Brutal's got some loose loot in a toolbox. Um, and then you go towards the hole, which is like kind of where like that's kind of the idea is like if you spawn on Railway, you go through Idea towards Trends, hit the Dark Room, hit the TTS, hit the Voyage, hit the German, hit the Mantis, hit the Brutal, and then like by that time, if you haven't, you know, like you've probably heard shots, and they're probably either at Goshen or they're at like Rasmussen, like on the Ollie
Mhm.
side. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because like yeah, I don't know. That's just like kind of how and you do like the same for the opposite side. And by the time if you spawn Ollie, you hit Texaco, you hit Raz, you go past the hole, you hit Brutal, you hit Mantis, you hit German, you hit Voyage. By that time, there's probably someone on the TTS store. You know, it's just like kind of how I mean, at least how it works with like SJ6 involved, as far as like that's kind of how I like to play, or we like to play. We just like pop the stems, sprint, hit the store to the other side, and then by that time, like PvP is like we're hearing shots, we're like deciphering
Mhm.
where to go and stuff. But
Do you
it's
SJ6
interesting.
into them all every raid?
I've been lazy. I haven't been this Chain 6 at all. But when I'm like, yeah, every rated, you do it. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. No, it's
'Cause it's
it's
just
it's
nice.
good. Yeah.
It's just I mean, it's like you don't even get to use the full benefit of the SJ, but like you get into the mall. Like no one really wants to fight outside of the mall, particularly. At
Yeah.
least none of us do. Because like while it is possible you can fight people off the spawns like such, um, I just find that people prefer to fight in the mall on both sides, you know.
I guess you're kind of
So
like in and looting already as opposed to like messing around outside while everyone else is in
yeah, because there's no
grabbing
loot,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and sometimes you end up fighting a guy outside, and then you know the other guy on like just running into the mall. He hears shots and nades going off. Is like, oh, I guess I'll like camp because that's the crappy thing too. Is like some spawns you can. This is true for like Idea and Ollie especially. Is like you get like the closer spawn to like the front entrances of those, and you could technically like go in. Like people do this all the time in like Ollie Garage. Is like they'll spawn like right outside of it. They'll run in, and then the corner where like there's a van and a blue tarp, they'll sit there and camp, and then people are running from like highway into the Ollie garage, and they get
Hmm.
shot in the back, and you kill them. And the same's true for like Idea. People will be like, "Oh, I spawned really close to Idea." They'll run inside the furniture's Idea, cut a left, turn around on like the food court where like the tables are and the glass is at, and they'll just like sit there and watch people as they come in and shoot them. It's like, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah, those spawns are they're kind of rough a little bit. I got ambushed one time by like three people who did that in Idea, and somehow I managed to survive, and they killed one of them. And this was last
mm.
wipe when I had the Scar Age, and I just kind of came around the corner, and there was just like three guys at the top of the Idea staircase.
Yeah.
Oh no! It's just like full auto, just like M62 just going crazy up the staircase. It was nuts. Just like back off around the corner and just somehow managed to survive. It was insane. So I've been at the rough end of that, but that's kind of the reason why I don't actually go up the main staircases anymore into really any
Yeah.
of those places and go in a different way. But now it's interesting because it's interesting hearing kind of like people who are more like Interchange regulars, like the
Mhm.
way that you play the map. Because like I don't really play the map for loot, so previously I've been like wandering around, just going like, okay, well, like where do people like to go in this place? You know, I'm just like wandering around trying to kill people rather than like looting anything. So that's definitely interesting. That's definitely interesting. I mean, I wonder whether it's even worth doing a bit of a like SJ6, go and do some looting, whatever, myself as well, to just kind of like be in that like vibe of PvP. And one thing that kind of struck a chord with me when you're talking about it is that if you're making this pathway through the center of the map, because I'm literally looking at the map at the moment, you like bust in to the center and then like move down through the. You're pretty much moving down through the middle. It's got a vibe that I usually like to do on other maps where you go somewhere very central because then you can hear the shots from like everywhere and you
Yeah.
know kind of what's happening around the whole map. Because if you're in the middle, you can hear Goshan, Ollie, Idea, and then you can build a better picture of the map. It's why I like to sit around Power Station a lot of the time on Shoreline, especially if I don't have anywhere specific that I need to go, like right that there and then. I'll normally go Power Station between Power Station and Resort. You can kind of judge like where people are, hear people at Weather Station, hear people in the villas. The only place you can't really hear is Pier. You can definitely hear people down at Gas. So that makes sense, and I can see where you'd want to do that. Do you ever? What do you find is like the split between people playing like above versus below? Because I was encouraged to go to the second floor a bit more, and I have been, and I've actually had some fights up there, which is interesting. But anytime I've tried to be upstairs and like use that to shoot downstairs, I've just like never seen anybody.
Yeah,
Just
that's kind of the thing. It's like what's weird about Interchange is like I mean, it's such a big map that like kind of fights can happen anywhere, but
mm,
I don't know, like it's just you'll kind of never know where fights are gonna break out, but like it's very possible that, you know, the tech light side is like a good contender, which is the second floor on Ollie's side. It just like you got the ultra, the tech light store, it's got decent loot, and then there's like Killa that's like kinda in that area because he can
mm,
spawn in like red stars like the theater. So like you kind of have like a little bit of a hotspot there, and then like down below, you also have a hotspot, which is the furniture slash Texco slash Ollie because people are coming like the way the spawns work. There's like good spawns, there's bad spawns. So like the good spawns basically get the gatekeep the bad spawns, like whether
mm,
they want to or not. Like you may go and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna loot Texco. Oh yeah, I'm first. Like this is great." And all of a sudden you hear running behind you, like they're coming up the Ollie stairs, and it's like, "Well, I have to fight now," you know. It's
yeah.
like so it's kind of inevitable. And that's kind of thing is like if you're like I don't know, I don't really get into a lot of combat upstairs. It does happen. Um, but I don't generally like going upstairs because there's not a lot of condensed loot. That's like the thing about
Mm,
that route, I was telling you, is like the loot, like you literally move from like one loot location to another loose loot location. You know, so it's like really just like boom, 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 boom.
yeah.
Um, I mean, when I was leveling strength and endurance last swipe, that was the route I did. I just literally like hit like half the route and then go to Goshen and take the backpack list and extract, you know, and in and out in 7 minutes.
Mm.
If I kill a scav, I can get out even quicker. You know what I mean? It was just like, but yeah, I don't know. It's I find like I don't know if it's just like this wipe or like because of all the changes, but a lot of the PvP happens, especially since that the ultra got nerfed so hard. I find it happens like in the first floor or like closer towards the Ollie side. Like Idea side doesn't really get a lot of action.
Yeah.
Um, but and I think it's because the hole in the floor kind of like that's like an extra pathway on that side of the map. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because like you
Mhm.
could like if you spawn Ollie, you could just go in the garages and just go up straight the hole.
Yeah.
Or you could go, and this is true for like the front of Ollie, you know, Emercom or Railway, could like just go up the hole instead of going up, you know, the back docks or the front of the Ollie store. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky map. It's a tricky map. There's just like so much going on there. You were saying about how like everybody's had to go and kill Killer. Like, what was your guys' strategy for doing that? You just like go everywhere, like
Go
visit everywhere.
everywhere
Yeah,
because the bosses have such a low spawn rate that not checking a spot just feels like you're shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, the most recent one we found, we ran up Idea, and I guess my buddy was lagging behind. He happened to like aggro Killa down in the Idea garages. He's like, oh crap, it's Killa, it's Killa. And he starts running up the idea stairs to be like, hurry, get over here, he's chasing me. And so like, because apparently they have been like hunting him all day, and like my buddy died like twice to Killer or something, and it was
Oh,
just like this, yeah. Because I know I was playing with Arrowing earlier this week, or I guess last week, and he was doing Killa, and he did like something like 120 raids and still hadn't like killed him or
that's
like seen him or
insane.
something. Yeah. And he happened to check. We were split because I was cutting on power because I was like, oh yeah, another raid we didn't find Killa, and he happened to see Killa in the Red Star room on
Hmm.
second floor, and he happened to get him. So I was like really happy for him. I was like, because I was like, oh crap, I'm nowhere near. Like I can't like be a meat shield or anything for
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Like just hold on, I'm SJ6, brother. I'm running. I'm like all the way up
SJ6 and
power.
Doblos and Meldon in a 3 BTG. It's just like all of them. Off we go. Yeah, no, I haven't killed him either. So I was hoping that doing Longline, I'll see him at least once. I've not really. I don't think I've even heard him yet fighting anybody or anything like that. So we'll see. We're nearly halfway through. So I don't
Nice.
know, man.
Good luck, dude. I hope you have better luck than
Yeah, I
others.
mean, in fairness, I've had pretty insane luck with some of the other stuff. Like I finished the guide in one go without getting into any real fights or anything, and just finished that. Gluhar, because he doesn't require an item, I ran into him by accident in reserve, like really early on in the wipe, and he was the
Mhm.
very front guy, and I killed him, and then got killed by his follower. So that quest could just got completed. It was like 2 days after I got given the quest or something, and it was just like, oh well, that one's done, okay. And then it took me a bit of time to do Rishala and his guards. It took me ages to find the guards, and I
Yeah.
managed to fluff it up a few times as well. I killed one of them. There was a player who meant, oh, it was like, honestly the most ridiculous situation in Dorms too. The player who like killed himself with his own grenade. I thought he was in the bathroom on the tiles, but then it was Rishala and another guard. And so I pushed them in a way that you would push an individual player, and ran into, literally just like face planted into these two AIs simultaneously, and just like I killed Rishala and died to the guard. I'd already killed Rishala. I already had the TT. I was doing the guards quest. So I was like, no, I didn't need to kill Rishala. It's so annoying. I had to go and find them again to kill like two more, which really sucked. But I went to go and do Sturman the other day. I was like, oh well, let's just go and see if we can do Sturman. Like we'll go down, we'll just have a look, and maybe we can do Shooterborn or whatever. And I took like what is it, the G28. I took the G28 with me. I was like, let's just try this. Very, very first raid, like here's Sturman, run into the camp, kill the two bodyguards, kill Sturman, grab the thing, and out we go. Literally one raid, done, finished. Okay,
Hmm.
now Sturman's done. All right, next one. Which was insane. I did finally manage to get Tagilla done on Night Factory as well, which is good. I was kind of struggling in Day Factory just because you end up in so much PvP, but Night Factory now is so not sweaty because of the lack of insomnia on there, and so you can move around the map more easily. And I ended up fighting in the office corridor with a flechette shotgun, and
Oh,
tore
you
him.
found someone.
Well, I found Tagilla, uh,
Yeah.
and
Oh, okay.
yeah, and killed him with that. So that was pretty good. So yeah, in terms of bosses, it's going alright actually. I thought it would take a lot longer. So now I've just got to do Killer and the Goons. That's the two main. Oh, and Sanitar actually. I didn't realize that. I thought Sanitar wasn't required because it says it's not required on the wiki for Kappa, but it turns out it is because you need to do Terror Group Employee afterwards, and the Kill Sanitar quest is multiple choice because you can technically do the Therapist one where you hand in all the ridiculous labs cards, fine in raid,
Mhm.
and apparently no multiple choice quests say required for Kappa because you don't have to do it for Kappa. It's like you have to do one or the other. But it's the
Right.
Terror Group Employee one that's like that you have to do. So you have to kill Sanatar or do that other quest first before getting this other one. So I do actually need to do it. And I got given that I think that one is behind another quest. I can't remember whether it's behind Rishala Guards or something because most of them have like flattened out now. It gives you just like the fan of all the
Right.
different quests simultaneously. But I think Sanitar's one's still behind another one, and I killed Sanitar like 3 hours before getting that quest. So I was like,
Oh
no, it was
no.
just random. So I got to go and kill him again, which is really really painful. And Sanitar's one that I've not really hunted, so maybe it'll be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, this killer one, I'm just not looking forward to it because of the whole RNG. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like he can be anywhere, and it's a 20% spawn chance, and
Is it really 20? It
it's
doesn't feel
20.
like 20.
I know, but that's it's 20% to be anywhere, and so it's like, how many people
Yeah.
did you say could be
I
on the
mean,
exchange? Up to like 14 or something. It's like
yeah, 12 to 14 or something.
anyone can run into him. Like some of them are gonna kill
Yeah.
him. Like,
And I mean, honestly, like me personally, I kind of like that he's not so um rampant because the boss AI sometimes can either be like complete literal bot, like the derogatory terminology, or completely cracked out of his mind.
hmm,
So it's kind of been nice actually. Like I've kind of liked it since I'm already done with my kill stuff. Not that I really cared. But
yeah.
it was nice to get the XP boost. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have to see. Maybe it'll become a problem, but still got to finish the main quest, so that's okay. I've basically just been surviving on M61 guns. It's really been
Oh
my
yeah.
staple now.
We'll see. What's crazy, and this is like this makes me like semi frustrated. Is Killa has like, is it 70 head HP? Yeah, it's 70 head HP.
Yeah,
So, and M61, I think it's just under, that's 70
it's
damage.
70 damage. Yeah, so you probably
So if you're,
won't
yeah,
one
you
shot
won't,
him through the visor. Yeah,
right. There's like, I think the
you'll one shot him on the
SVD,
top, but not through the visor.
I don't think it will though, because distance thing. Like if you're right up close to
Oh,
him,
and the yeah, and class 4. I don't know how much damage mitigation M61 has through class 4.
no, so
Maybe,
it's
but
so
maybe
it's
just the drop off. Yeah,
the helmet itself's class 5, and then the visor's class 6.
I'm pretty
But
sure the helmet's class 4.
well, either way, it doesn't really matter because the the damage loses round as soon as it leaves
This is
the
true.
so you're gonna do 69 damage. So you like, you just can't one tap them, right? Um so the other option that I've done is SVD, because the SMB has 75 damage, which I think it gives you like 15 meters of play,
Hmm,
which isn't really great, but like you could, I know Glorious has done this, you could just run in with a Mosin with SMB and just like, I mean, this was back when Killa spawned in like 2 spots. You could just
exactly.
run up to him and one tap him and
Yeah.
grab his stuff. But the other one is BT, which gives you a little bit more play. I think it's like, I don't know, 25 or something. I
The
can't
pen's
remember the
been nerfed
numbers.
on that though, so it won't go through the visor like insta
You
pen
have to hit
anymore.
the top of his head, yeah. I mean, you can technically hit him in the, I think you could hit him in the face shield and get a lucky roll, but anyways, the point is like it's really hard to like take him out in one shot. So I don't know. It's such a weird. I really don't like that thing just because none of the other rules really the rules of that don't apply to you.
Hmm.
Like no one gets like bonus head HP unless you're an AI. Apparently, it's just kind of annoying. Like it makes it feel weird, but I guess there's worse things to complain about.
I know what you mean. It's like, okay, yeah, you can have crazy armor and stuff, fine, but like, why'd you have to mess with the HP? That's always been the issue with these bosses, like especially ones like Sanitar where they just got like stupid amounts of health.
Hmm.
It's like you're not even wearing a helmet, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. So I it is what it is.
Exactly, it is what it is. So yeah, we'll see, dude. We'll see. But I've been enjoying all the guns in that particular range. Like I just did a vid on the RSAS, which has been really nice. Like the SR is really good. Um, G28 not that bad either, really. It's like M1A is still not my favorite. Still not my favorite gun. I've never been a big M1A fan, but
G36.
G36. Well, I actually
I
killed
used.
Sanitar with the G36.
Did you?
Amazingly, that was actually because I was doing something else. I was just doing something random. I was like having to plant something or go take something or survive or what. I can't remember what it was. and I bumped into him with it and ended up killing him with the G36 with 5501. Amazingly, of all the guns, but
I was I was using it last night on Interchange, and I probably spent like 30 or 40 rounds trying to kill an AI scav. Like I couldn't miss the one tap, try to like hit him again, kept missing, try to like spray, just missed everything. It was like it was pretty rough.
yeah, yeah, it's bad. It is bad. I was using one for a little bit. I think it's just because I was either testing out or I think I had it and I was like, I don't want to just sell it to the trader. It
Right,
feels bad. I
right.
want to use the guns that I've got in my stash. And I ended up just selling it and using a Scarrel instead. There was like a situation where I didn't die, but I missed a kill on a player, and I was like, if I had the Scarrel, I actually think I would have won, or like I would have killed him. Whereas like he got away because I was using the G36. I was like, it's actually really irritating. Like the Scarrel feels so good in comparison, and it's just G36 just really outclassed. It really is. But yeah, no, all these guns are pretty cool. Like I might put something together on the G28 because it's like it's kind of neat. One thing I didn't realize is like how light it is. Like it's really light. So
Hmm.
it's expensive because you can only do that keycard barter for it or pay like 300 rubles, 300k rubles for like the one with the ridiculous scope and all this stuff. But it's one of the lightest platforms. Like it's even lighter than the SR, which is kind of cool. And, you know, it's not the best in terms of like hidden stats necessarily, like convergence, whatever. It's like slightly better than the M1A, but not as good as the SR and the RSAS. Like the RSAS
Yeah.
is like convergence is so crazy, man, and that's what makes the gun feel so good. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's just like it's like it's faster than the SR. It's nuts. But yeah, the beauty about the G28 is you can hold it up for ages. So that's why I was looking to do
I
shooter
see.
bomb with it because you get loads of arm stamina because you can make it. I think the one I'm using, I've got one in my stash just now. I think it was like maybe it was under 4 kilos or something. Like most of them, I've taken the stocks off and stuff. Yeah, I don't have one to hand, but I think you could build one that was it was about 3.9 kilos before you added like the optics and stuff. But it was a lot lighter than some of the other guns in that caliber, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool. Potential
That's interesting.
alternative at
Yeah, I didn't
least.
know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really light gun. Cool. So yeah, that's Taki. That's what I've been up to. Still got these quests to do. Slowly working through it. Had some sick plays on Interchange. People accusing me of becoming an Interchange main. Never. Puh. But I've had some fun plays.
Oh
I've had some
man.
fun plays.
Yeah. Give it some time. Give it some time.
I've like quite a few of the ways. I've had like 2 kills, 1 kill, 2 kills, 1 kill. It's been going alright, honestly. It's been going a lot better than
Mhm.
I thought it would. So at least there's that. At least there's that. But yes, you have been playing Marauders in the Cycle. Tell me. I'm interested. I want to hear your experience now after playing it, going back to Tarkov, us thinking about it a bit, like DMZ mode being announced, then like going back into it and playing it again after thinking about it so much. What's it been like?
Yeah. Um I haven't played a lot of Marauders. That game definitely needs more time in the oven. Like it's definitely early access.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has the same Tarkov issues where like this is like pre Steam audio where you know directional audio isn't great. There is no difference when they're above you or below you. You just hear running and the maps have
Okay.
verticality to them. Um the looting, like they've improved the looting a little bit. I don't but I still got like a bug where I'm putting stuff inside a rig and then like items are stacking on top of the same cell and I can't take them out and it's just like, okay, well this is bugged. And then I realize I can't put the rig in your backpack. I don't know why. I'm like, okay, well now I have to just wear this guy's crappy rig and because it's damaged and messed up and get rid of my good rig and I can't put my good rig in the back. I don't understand the looting. They got this weird thing too where like you can stack backpacks, but you have to first fold the backpack. Like you
Right.
flatten it out, like you and then you can stick it in there. And it changes its size too. But anyways,
So you can't put anything in
um
it, I guess, when you do that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's the catch. It's I don't know, it's kind of an I'm like interested in it just because I kinda like the World War II era guns as well, like, I'm
Mm.
kinda biased in that aspect, and the space combat, I haven't really got to explore a lot of that, like, it's kinda interesting to me, like, every time I try to do it, I just suck, you know, I end up like, I'll
It's a
shoot this
skill
guy's
issue.
Like, yeah, exactly. No, seriously, and I'll end up, like, shooting the guy's spaceship and, like, maybe I win the spaceship battle, but, like, how it works is, like, once their spaceship's, like, damaged, then you you start taking damage once your spaceship continues to get damaged, you know what I mean? It's almost like as if you have a spaceship health bar. Once it reaches 0, then the cannons firing on the spaceship start damaging you, the
Mm,
player. So the player has to exit, and he has 2 options. One, he could try to repair his spaceship, right? He can go down, you go to the engine room, you grab the fire extinguisher, and you start shooting the engine with the fire extinguisher, and it heals the engine. You just got, like, a little health bar you can see on the engine screen or
mhm.
the part it's part of the actual engine, but, um which is kinda cool because like, if you have, like, a big crew, you could have, like, someone mounting the gun, someone flying the spaceship, someone, like, healing the engine, like, that's kinda
Yeah.
cool. It's, like, a whole different side to, like, because it's built to defend the because how it works is, like I guess I should explain how it works for people that aren't familiar with it or never seen it, but you it's like Tarkov, right? You got traders, there's a map you load in, but you start out in a spaceship in space. In the center of the map, there's the actual raid, if you will. And that's like where you play like a regular Tarkov raid. So you fly into the space station, you land in, you're inside this, prison or whatever, and there's loot and you loot it and you extract, and then you go back into your spaceship, and then you gotta find a little like futuristic gate hyperspeed thing that you fly into that sends you off back to your hideout or whatever. But there's this whole, like, space combat side of, like, breaching other people's ships and, like, taking over their ships and stuff, and then
Does that kinda
it's
happen, like, between the raid and the extract or something? Or, like, when does the
yeah,
space bit
like,
happen?
at the start of the raid, because that's like the you spawned in the raid, everyone's spaceship spawns around the space,
Okay, yeah.
and in the center, there's the raid. So this
Mhm.
is, like, the entrance into the raid. So, like, you could fight people as you're going in, but you get in, then you're inside the spaceship. Now it's time to loot and fight with your guns. And you take all the loot out back to your spaceship and you gotta leave to the extract. But this is like the interesting part because it's like you could technically never go inside the raid and just play the whole space combat side of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just basically exit camp everybody leaving.
Basically. I mean, it's yeah, basically. But it's interesting because you have like you can board them, like they could board you and like you have different spaceships you can buy and like different upgrades you can put on like missiles and all this. That whole side has me interested. Like it's kind of gimmicky, but I like their like spin on it.
Hmm.
Um but otherwise it's pretty much Tarkov. There is no like fleet, there is no secure container. Um, it's pretty much Starco though, in a nutshell. Now the cycle we played it last year, I think, or was it last year? Might have even been that long
Uh,
ago.
Might have been this year even, but yeah,
Yeah,
a while ago anyway. Many months ago.
yeah, yeah. I think it was this year, and we talked about it a little bit, but I don't know. I didn't really pick it back up because I think by the time like Tarkov was wiping or something, so it's time for
And we were kind
Tarkov.
of
But
in flow, weren't we? Yeah.
and so anyways, I visited again with a friend, Salty Mayo, and it's it's kinda the same, really. They've definitely, like, polished up some things, like, now they got all their, like, because the game's free to play and everything's, like, monetized by 2 things. One is, like, microtransactions, so, like, skins and stuff, um, and then what I call sanctioned RMT, which is, like, their starter packs, if you will. It's kinda like EOD and, like, you know, Prepare to Die, all that stuff,
Hmm.
but it's a little bit different in that it's purely just gear,
Right.
and I was looking at it the other day, like, it's on sale, but, like, there's one, like, the S tier or, like, the highest tier you can get is, like, $95 or something, and you get, like, 2 green helmets, 2 green armors, or, like, 2 blue backpacks, 2 blue armors, 2 blue helmets, like, a couple different green guns. Like, yeah, it's like I said, sanctioned RMT,
Yeah.
you just get gear. But interesting enough, you can buy each individual pack and get each upgrade every wipe, like, you just get all the gear, you know? So you
And do you
could
have to
just,
buy
like
it each time? Like each wipe, you
no,
have to pay for it or not?
no.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, you could in theory, you could spend, like, almost $200, and have, like, all this, like, gear.
Hmm.
Um, I don't that's probably my least favorite part about it, their
I mean, it's
monetization,
it's
but
very similar to Tarkov though in some ways. Do you think it's
yeah,
more? Do you think it's like more OP than EOD versus standard, or do you think it's like less? Do you think it matters more or less to the overall game?
um, I
Because like EOD is pretty powerful these days.
yeah, I mean, I don't it's kinda hard. I don't have a lot of hours, so I can't really say,
Hmm. But
like, yeah, I can't really
it's like two good armors or two blue armors, two green armors, whatever. Like, how long will that last you? If you suck anyway, or if you're new, then you're just gonna die with it, right? And then someone's gonna take it. That's gonna be it. We're having some signal issues. What's happened here? What has happened here? Do-do-do. I think Church is just thinking. Ruh-roh. What's happened to Church? Oh dear. Well, at least I'm still here. Normally it's me with the connection issues. I wonder what's happened.
Hello, 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 hello.
Oh, hello. Whoa, that was very loud for a second then. Goodness.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Is it crappy?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, well, my PC's back up. I blue screen this. I'll be back in a second.
Okay. All right. All good. Funny. You know, it's interesting actually that Church had a blue screen there because I had a blue screen earlier. I managed to put my PC. I've never had a blue screen on Windows 10, and I managed to have one the other day because I had Premiere Pro running for video editing, and I had Tarkov running in the background in a raid, and I had OBS open for doing video capture stuff. And I tried to edit part of a video that I was working on in Premiere whilst everything else was running simultaneously, and it was like video interface, like GPU error or something crashed and restarted everything. It has been lagging a bit recently. I was like, oh, it's kind of lagging when I try and do all these like video graphic things all simultaneously. But I finally took it one step too far.
Okay.
Are you
You hear me?
back? Ah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Don't quite have your
Alright.
cam. Let me see if I can.
Okay, yeah, let me start up OBS. Forgot.
I think chat was laughing at your thinking face. It looked like you were just thinking, just like paused, just thinking,
Yes. What to say? The cycle,
It's
yeah.
better than last time. I think last time I was monologuing for like 2 minutes before I noticed that you weren't actually there, which was
Yeah,
didn't reflect very well on me.
I don't know what what's wrong. This is the second. Yeah, anyways. All right. So, back on
Is
topic. Why is it
your
no, it's not. Why isn't the camera working? Why is everything break? Um,
the grey box of church?
okay, let's try restarting OBS. Something I could think of. Okay. Looks good. Yep, we're good now. Okay. So, should be good now.
Ah, perfect. We are
Excellent.
back.
Okay. So yeah. Um yeah, I haven't put enough hours. I can't really say how important the gear is and whatnot, but anywho, they've made some tweaks like now because you upgrade your container and stash and your hideout and your passive income and all that
Hmm.
stuff through the quarters as they call it, which is the hideout essentially. And
Yes.
um anywho, I one thing that would like kind of like bother me is outside of the RMT thing, which really doesn't matter. I mean, it's their game; they can do what they want. I'm playing a free game, I'm not
Hmm.
spending a penny as of right now, so I can't really complain. But as far as how they choose to monetize the stuff, anyways. But the uh, the quests, they've had a new quest, so now there's actually like a storyline quest
Oh,
for like all
cool.
the different traders. Yeah, so you have like the main quest, and you have still have the side jobs
Hmm.
that you unlock. Um, but what I didn't like is I'm like locked, like it, and it kind of holds your hand a little too much. I mean, it's like a good thing and a bad thing. But you have to like play the beginner map. You can't like Bright Sands, the map that
The one that we've all
you
played
played.
a
Yeah.
bunch. Yeah.
Because I was playing Mayo and he's already on like the second map, and I was like, it just feels kind of bad. Like he has to come to the crappy map with me. He doesn't have any quests on, and I got all the quests. But anywho, that was something that I didn't really like. I felt like there's a little too much hand holding, but at the same time, it's like kind of a good thing because it helps new players, not be so overwhelmed. Oh, which map shall I go to? Oh, I click this one, and they go to like the hardest map possible. Like
Yeah.
somehow miss the warning, extremely dangerous high tier PvP map or whatever.
Heaven forbid another extraction-based shooter might just give you a map screen and let you go wherever you want, and then have a difficulty labeling that has no bearing on anything other than the level of play. I
Right.
mean, heaven forbid someone would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool. They've added some new stuff. There's so one thing that you and I really liked about it was like the like things that like engage or entice interest, the whole like putting the data drive inside the tower
Mm.
and have it like spin up and change colors and be
Yeah.
really loud. They got this new thing where it's like a orbital mining thing, and it's like this
Okay.
like just on the map there's like a hole in the ground of like glowing lights coming out of it, and if you bring in this really heavy thing, you can like call in an orbital freaking mining drill that just like flies down from like the sky. It's like super loud and then like mines this like really rare stuff. Like it's like super, yeah, it's like, okay, that guy, like, don't mess with that guy, he's like he's a Chad, what I mean? It's like, hello newbies, I am here to mine the most expensive resource. If you dare challenge me, it's good. But yeah, I mean it's cool. It's definitely like the most approachable extraction based shooter right
Mm.
now because it's just like very like simplified,
And pretty polished,
very
which is always the
polished.
thing, right? It functioned pretty well right from day one. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's like the advantage that they had is they took an existing IP
Mm.
and they converted it to the extraction shooter. So they didn't have to like develop new assets, like a ton of new assets, I should say. They could just like recycle some of the old stuff. And yeah, so they definitely had like an advantage on that side, which I think it's working out pretty well for them. The other thing is like they have seasons instead of wipes, but it's basically wipes and it's every 3 months.
Okay.
And someone was talking about this in the video, and I can agree. I think they're like competing with the Tarkov wipe cycle because like the wipe just happened like I don't know a few weeks ago. So it's like "Oh,
They're
I'm getting
what,
bored
like
of
off cycle with
Tarkov."
the Tarkov wipe or
You just
something.
like right, you just switch back and forth, and maybe the hope is like eventually you'll just like I'm done with Tarkov, and it's just like I don't know, but it's kind of interesting how they're doing. I mean, I haven't looked at. I'm kind of curious what the Steam charts are at. Um,
Yeah, what's
see
kind of
what
the driving force? Is the driving force to like get all of your quarters upgraded? Then is that what makes you want it? Like, what's the biggest pull, or is it moving up the tiers of
I
stuff?
think it's just moving up the tiers. Having that. I mean, the main pull of these types of games, in my opinion, is the risk reward. Like
Hmm.
that's why everyone plays, in my opinion. I mean, I guess anyone can have their own reason to play, but to me, that's like the appeal of the genre, right? It's like you go in, and you loot stuff, that helps you progress, and that's what sort of is like the risk factor because you can lose it when you die. But the reward is if you win, then you get to keep it, and it makes you more powerful. That's kind of the thing, right? So, and how they do it is it because you basically have like straight out the gate, you can craft the highest tier armor in the
Yeah,
game.
you just don't have the mats, do you?
Right. But the mats, a lot of them you have to get off the AI.
Mm,
And like I was looking at it, like there's this one AI called the Crusher, and he's like, he throws like rocks at you, because it's like set in space and aliens and whatnot. But
yeah.
and like I mean, you remember the Jeffs, right? Like they were hard to take down, and like as you go up the tiers of guns from like the traders, like leveling your traders, they get easier and easier. Like
Mm,
Mayo, he found a like purple SMG, and he was just like melting any AI. Like they just stood no chance. So it's like in theory, you could bring like the starter tier weapons and a crap ton of ammo, and I mean a crap ton, and take out these AI. And in theory, you could get lucky and get the right drops you need and farm all the right mats you need and craft the purple armor. But you're sort of like incentivized to level up your traders to get the
yeah.
guns that just deal with them faster and better. And that's kind of interesting to me because from what I've heard, it seems like armor doesn't really matter that much. Like when it comes to PvP, like
Mm.
one of the I was watching some, content creators, and one of the tier lists they had was like put the starter SMG at S tier now because they've like rebalanced all the stuff, and for like its cost, it's like really good in terms of its like, what
Alright.
it can do. But it's interesting because it's like there's a difference between like PvE damage and like PvP damage. So
Yeah, because there's like is it like an armor pen sort of mechanic? I forget.
sort of.
I can't remember
Yeah.
what they label it as, but there was something I do remember seeing this before where if you had one of the mid tier guns, you could shred the stuff on the basic map. But without it, just as you said, it took an eternity. There's
Yeah.
like quite a big difference between those two, which is kind of interesting. It sort of drives you to get the better gear because there is actually a material change, but it's not in PvP. It's PvE, which is kind of interesting. So I guess like that sort of flattens off the guns in terms of what's meta from a PvP perspective, so that it's still sort of fair-ish. But in terms of progression, you can only really do and get those mats from the AIs if you've got those better guns. You need to slowly move your way up the ranks to do it. It's kind of interesting. It is kind of interesting. Yeah. Like how long does it take? Like how do you get onto the second map these days?
Mm, Probably like in a week or less than a week.
Okay, so it's not that bad. You have
Yeah.
to do what the storyline for it or something.
I'm not really sure what unlocked it for me, but it got unlocked eventually. And I mean, I
Oh, I
still don't.
see. Okay, you are on there.
Yeah. I mean, I have one of the traders has quests on there for me now,
Mm.
but otherwise, all the other quests on the other map. So I'm still kind of like incentivized to go to the other map. Um, I mean, I'm looking at the Steam charts here, and it seems like they're sitting around like 8,000 concurrent players.
Pretty good.
Um, yeah, it's okay.
How was the
Uh,
PvP when you were playing? How did it feel?
it's fine. I mean, it's the same as it was in the beta, if you remember. I mean,
Okay.
it's like, yeah, like I said, it's very like streamlined, simplified. Like, there's not a lot of depth in the mechanics and PvP and that such. I mean, it kind of has that whole like COD thing where you sprint really fast, you can like jump around the corner ADS, and then you're slow. It's just like that's kind of it, really. The guns are relatively light recoil. You have your meds and stuff. I mean, it's pretty simple. Um, but
Yeah. It's one of those games where I really probably would want to play it with other people, to be honest. I don't really feel like I want to play it by
yeah,
myself.
Yeah.
But I think with other people, it could be kind of cool just because it's a bit easier. It's not quite as stressful as playing Tarkov with other people. Like, unless you play all the time together, Tarkov's like pretty hair raising because you just don't know who's who and people don't have good comms and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Well,
like,
they do have your teammates have like a outline on
yeah,
them,
it's a
which
lot
is
easier.
nice.
Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, I get that. These kind of games really have like a sort of MMO, not really an MMO, but like you have like your group, you know what I mean? And it's
Mhm.
like that's the game you're playing, and you all get to like participate and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I don't know. It's kind of hard to put into words, but I feel like these games like kind of help with like facilitate that in a way. Um, but you
Yeah,
can
like,
totally play solo.
yeah, you can do. You can do. I remember having issues last time. It's just like any groups. It's like, oh god, because the TTK is so high in comparison. Um, it wasn't even an instant headshot. I don't think with most of the weapons if people wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
They were like very hard to catch people by surprise. If you catch one, then the second person's on you in like seconds because the movement's so fast and stuff. It's like, oh god, like so tricky to take out a team. Um, on Tucky, you could take out a team in one mag in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, there's definitely, as you said, the elements that are most interesting to me are things like the random meteor strike and like the world interaction and like that sort of those random things where you
Dude,
feel like you're discovering stuff. Like, it's kind of cool. Those are my favorite things about these kind of games.
I think for me the best thing about it is like the world building and like immersion. Like, dude, there's these like birds now that are like scattered around the map that are just like sitting on the terrain, and then when you get like close to them and like spook them, they'll fly away. So like we'll be, in another part, and then we'll hear the birds fly away, and we'll look and be like, oh yeah, he's 3:30. There's birds flying. It's like and just like the sound and
That's
like
cool.
the sound design is really good. It's like spooky like noise. Like it's really cool. It's really cool. I like and they're they've done a good job. Like the quests, some of them are like Tarkov quests. Um, Stash this here, turn this in here. But they do have a couple like I guess yeah, the bad side of Tarkov quests. But they have a couple that's like more lore stuff. Like you have to go find these like remains of like these survivors. I mean, I didn't really read into it, but
Yeah.
they want to do more stuff like that from what I've heard. And I don't know. It's an interesting thing, something to do on the side while wait for Tarkov to update. But
And maybe Marauders.
yeah, 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 we'll see. I mean, I still like to give the game a try, but I'm kind of like more into the cycle now that Mayo's got me into it. But I don't know.
Cool.
It's an interesting thing. We'll see. I mean, I'm honestly really interested in what DMZ does because it's like
Oh yeah.
that's kind of like the halfway point to me because like the cycle I feel like is like so reduced down, you know,
Yeah.
that there's like such a lack of depth. I mean, there is depth, but it's not quite like the Tarkov depth, um, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. But I just feel like it's a little too. I mean, there's some nice elements to it as well. Like the starter gear is so cheap, like you just can't. Like it'd just be impossible for you to go broke, and like you can
Yeah.
insure it. And how insurance works is like there's two insurances. There's like the standard insurance, which is like you pay a fixed amount, and then when you die and no one loots it, you get it back. So they changed it. Like now it's as long as no one touches it, you'll get the payout. So it stays permanently insured.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
so
So it's a
like
bit
there's
closer to Tarkov's mechanics, but you still get money.
yeah, there is no insurance frauding, is how I understood it. But like if you drop your backpack, you'll lose the insurance.
Right.
But so like there's basically not a reason to not insure in that regards. I it so like it's the point I'm making is like it just like as if you were like a new player or just like a really bad new player, like you're not getting completely you're not gonna your star rate's probably gonna be low, but you're gonna at least have money to keep playing, I guess is like what I'm saying, because they don't have like a
Yeah.
scav mode or anything like that. Um Plus, I mean the starter gear isn't like bad. Like I was using it and it's like, we were killing players, but um there was something else I was gonna say. The anyways, there's another insurance that you can use, like the premium currency or like these insurance tokens, whatever. And that's like where you get the actual gear back.
Right.
Um, so like if you've got a rare gun or a rare item you want to spend these points on, you can. And oh, the matchmaking. Yeah, that's the other thing that we talked about before. The matchmaking's kind of interesting. It's based off your like how
Is it your
much
loot?
loot
Is it still like
you
that?
like
Yeah. Okay.
extract. Yeah. So and I think it's like a mix between survival rate and loot.
Mm.
So it's you get a range of players. You don't if you're like high, quote unquote high skill player. Let's say you're like a PvP monster, for example. Like you may get into a lobby of rats as well. Like people that just don't want anything to PvP, but like bring out a crap ton of loot. It's I
Yeah.
like that. It's cool. But yeah, I mean, they've this is kind of just me just like monologuing about what Mayo's told me, but they've Sha when you get caught hacking, you just get shadow bans, so you just play in other hacking lobbies, and, like, I haven't ran into any cheaters that I know of, like, blatant cheaters, which is kinda cool. Um, they solved RMT, there was an issue of RMT, people would just give them credits,
Yeah.
but the way they circumvented that is credits now have weight to them, so
Okay.
you can only bring so much in your butt. But you can like, I was like, "Hey, I got this one quest, I gotta find these 2 items." And he was like, "Oh, I'll bring him into you." I was like, "Wait, you can do that?" He was like, "Yeah, dude, there's no found in raid." I was like, "Oh, that's right. There is no found in raid." It's just like some Tarkov thing now, but so you can like trade items, but your secure container is like kind of small because it's based off weight. It used to be, I think in the beta it started at 5 and you could like the first upgrade, you like double it to
Make it
10,
bigger.
which
Yeah.
I thought was kinda, like, a little too much, but now it's, like, 5 to 7, so it's a little bit more
All right.
lenient, but anyways, it's cool. But the point I was trying to get to is I feel like DMZ COD could be, like, the halfway point between, like, the Cycles approach, which is, like, very, like, stripped down, the core and, like, very approachable,
Mm.
whereas Tarkov is, like, not super approachable, is, like, kinda hard to get into, but there's a lot of depth and this, that, and the other. I feel like possibly DMZ could be the halfway point, and since they're, bigger studio, more resources, more experience, they have an existing IP, you know,
Yeah.
it's just a little less they can do a bit more. I'm just curious what the and from what I've heard from the leaks, like, a lot of it sounds like there's a currency. It sounds like there's these keys. It sounds like there's these different factions, like almost like a scav faction, almost like a PMC faction. It could be something that's a halfway between point. It won't have like as good combat depth and depth in general, but if it's like, kind of like less fluff and just like to the
Mm.
point. I don't know. I guess if the progression is pretty solid and it's like the AI is good, like it could sell me on it and I could
Yeah.
be a believer, but we'll see.
Exactly, we'll see. If there's some like really good, compelling like in-raid stuff you have to do, like go here and do this, and there's like sort of
Mhm.
almost scripted things you have to go and do to complete, like go and grab the drive, put it in here, and some more like you can make complicated stuff in raid, which I think it sounds from the leaks a little bit like what they're doing, and they have the
A little bit,
ability to
yeah.
do that because they've made a billions single player campaigns, so they know how to do scripted events and all this stuff is their bread and
Right.
butter. So it could be easy for them to have this sort of like dynamic events across the map for all different types of missions, for all different types of players, and make it kind of interesting and actually feel dynamic because people are doing all sorts of different stuff. We'll see. I'm excited. I really want to give it a try. Want to give it a
Yeah.
proper try for sure.
Flip side, it could be complete dog doo doo.
We'll all go back to Tarkov.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, I think that's the cast for today. And yeah,
Think so.
thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you all next week.
Catch you guys later.